Hello!
Hello!
We hairy game lords have been able to play Prison Architect. We played it online. What did we think? Slightly Beardy James here. I'm a big fan of the PC game Prison Architect. So when I saw that there's a board game coming out, I got super excited. Prison Architect as a video game is really big. It's a strategy game where you are building a prison. You've got to look after your prisoners. You've got to think about where your rooms are. You've got to go for different ways of making money, different ways of maximizing everything. And it's very much a kind of like I don't know, I'd say macro management, because you're not telling the prisoners where to go, but you're making a system that works for them. How on earth do you turn that into a board game? Well, they tried and they managed. I think they did, because the board game itself is very clever. You've got lots of scope for putting your prison together in a certain shape, but there's lots of limitations. So your prison itself is 6 by 6 squares, and each of the rooms is a square in your prison. So some of those squares might be cells. They might be things which bolster the security on your prison, which is really important, otherwise your prisoners run away, like mine did, and that's negative points. It might be the case that you work to improve the happiness and the contentment of your prisoners, and sometimes that's done with rooms that affect those around it. So you want to think about like what is around the rooms that you're in, or maybe it'll be something that affects an entire line of your prison. You might want to try and improve the sanitation of your prison and the different cells there through showers, or maybe you just want to try and pack in as many prisoners as you can. This game has got so many routes to success. Like it'd be possible to come out on top in multiple different ways. So we managed to play this with Mark Cook, and he said that the average scores were, what, 150 something? We showed him. He absolutely obliterated us. And I mean, like, we didn't embarrass ourselves, but he did get 250 something like that. And we maybe broke 130. Now, like, there are so many different routes to go down in this. I think they've done an amazing job of taking an incredibly complex sandbox video game and created a board game which is free in the way that you can strategize, the way that you can build. And like, the thing that I found about this game is the next day I just had this urge to play it again. This game is something that you can think about, you can get better at. I mean, obviously, Mark's not like, he's not a super genius, is he? Either that or he's just played the game a whole load of times. Actually, I do think he's pretty good at strategy games. But I'd like to get better at this game. I'd like to be able to think more carefully about where I put my rooms. I'd like to be able to think about how I bid for the different things more carefully, and the way that I use my money and budgets and all of that kind of stuff. This game is a game which I think will stretch people. It's quite, I'd say it's quite heavy. It's on the heavier side of the things that I enjoy. But it's also a game which has got a lot of replayability. And if you're looking for something that feels like the video game, I think they've done it. And I'd like to play it again.
Hi, Dave Gray. And yeah, we have been playing Prison Architect. Now, being the kind of like huggy lefty that I am, my prison consisted mainly of prison cells and guards.
Tasers.
And more guards. Guards with dogs, guards with towers, and guards with tasers. Because prison ain't fun, kids. And yeah, it kind of went okay. And the average, as James says, is about 150 or so. And I think as a whole we achieved that, because we scored just over 100. And the winner scored about 250. So if you added all the scores up and divide by 4, then yeah, about 150 is right. But none of my prisoners escaped, not one. So I count that as a success. It wasn't fun for anybody, but I had tasers and I had guard dogs. So no, it is quite a puzzly little thing, because all of your prison cells, you need to keep them clean. Mine were cleanish. Probably why I didn't score many points, you know, when the prison inspectors came around and I got fired. But yeah, you've got to keep them secure, clean. You need to have enough staff. And yeah, there's quite a lot of planning, and I think it will encourage replayability. So you need to know sort of what all the different things were. Some of you can have the cheap cells, you can have the high-end luxury cells. There's all sorts of different ways to get your points. I ended up going all my eggs in one basket, and as a rule, that kind of thing doesn't tend to work out, but I did have quite a lot of fun getting there. So give it a try. You might surprise yourself at just how harsh a prison governor you are, and learn that you should never ever do that as a job.
Bearded Lady. Now, obviously Dave forgot that yes, you've got to keep the cells clean and secure, but the third thing is that you've got to keep the prisoners happy.
No, you don't.
And if you're able to complete all 3 of those things, then you get additional points for every cell that completes that at the end of the game. And I think that's probably where, as Hairy Game Lords, that's where we became undone. I mean, Dave wasn't up for keeping anyone happy. It's prison, after all. And the rest of us, I think mine struggled to be clean. But it's where Mark, he really racked up the points, because most of his cells hit those 3 pointers, and therefore accumulated lots and lots of end scoring. I really like the components. Yes, we played on TTS, but when you get onto the table, there's lots of great components. The artwork and theme is very much like that of the computer game, so I'm told by James, having never seen it or heard of it before. But then there's these great little kind of meeple kind of characters, the different staff, you can have dogs, that's it, security dogs. There's different people that you can have involved in
Guards.
with
the coach.
with tasers, machine gun turrets, and all of that. You can have coaches, that you can have people that bring in the kind of morale and make people happy. There's also 3 different types of prisoner that you can have, and obviously there's the high-end prisoners will bring you more money each round, which is great, because then you can bid even more in the whole market phase. So in the beginning part of each sort of turn, there's a bidding phase where you will go to the market and people will bid on what they want, but then it comes down to turn order on whether or not you get that. And what's really cool about that is that there is that element of take that in there, which I took full advantage of, knowing that I could kind of see everybody else's prisons, and I knew that James was really keen.
Just wanted some canteens and kitchens.
He wanted some kitchens, so I thought, cool. I've got some kind of like end scoring here, that if I get a certain amount of kitchens, I also will benefit. So who got all the kitchens? So that was really good. So I took on some high-end prisoners, got the money in, was able to go first in the bidding or in the market phase, and snaffled those kitchens up from James. Good times. So there is that little bit of element of stitching up your co-players around the table there, which is good fun. So yeah, it was a good game. Now, I've played the game Clinic. I forget who it's by, but it reminded me of this game. But what I liked about Prison Architect was I'm Ange the Bearded Lady. I like nice art, and when trying to get my head around a heavy game is difficult. Clinic has lots of moving parts, as does this game, but this game felt a lot easier, and I was able to get my head around it quicker, and therefore enjoy the game a lot more. So a good game, one certainly to check out and get involved with, whether you're a fan of the computer game or like ourselves have never heard of it. It was good. So get involved!
Hi, Dave the Grey. It's May. It's -20, and I've got nips you could hang your hat on.